My name is Christian Bitkow. I'm a 2D, 3D artist. I work at Daedalic.
So Chris, well, how dare you, sir? How dare you make an RTS? How dare you make a dead game at PAX? You gotta make, where's your Battle Royale game?
Oh man, let's not talk about Battle Royales. You know, we have designers just playing with modes. So we're like, oh yeah, what about if we get like 50 teams and 25 against each other? Yeah, so we're making an RTS, and it's 2019. Yes, we're crazy, but maybe not. Yes, we actually started to make this game before Reforged was announced. But let's put it like this. For the old people who already played Warcraft a long time ago, maybe this is something new. They don't have to play everything all over again. And for the young people, you know, they don't have to, you know, stand for 10 years of story. They can just start afresh. So yeah, I mean, in the core of the team, there was a passion for making an RTS.
But this game, so when I passed by this, I had to double take. I thought it was Warcraft 3 for a second. I was like, what is Warcraft 3 doing here? You're not only an RTS, but you're a fantasy RTS, and you're also like a true to form RTS. What I've seen in the gameplay is you still have the tier builds, everything like that. The only thing I haven't been able to really notice is, do you have heroes in the game?
Yes, we have heroes. We have, okay, let me start from the start.
Start from the start, yeah.
So yes, we are, so let's see, hero, RTS, and co-op, in the sense of, okay, you see the two guys behind me playing, they are basically playing, taking their necks at the same time, which means that if one of them loses, they're both going down. They're two separate factions, or can be two separate factions. Basically means that if one of their last keeps gets defeated, they both are dead. Now, what is different from us? Basically, we're just trying to shave down all the small details, in the sense of, like, we have no extra houses, we have no greeneries, we're just there for building an army and fighting.
So you don't have to worry about supply.
Yes, basically just, you know, basic mine, get some lumber, and just build barracks and build stuff that will give you power-ups. Then level up your character, level up your hero, because your hero is also gonna give you the type of player you're gonna be. And then just go forth and try to assemble a strategy with your partner, yes.
So when Warcraft 3 released, they added the hero mechanic, and that rapidly basically changed the way you played their RTS, because it was more about focusing on your hero, and the army was more of like their backup. But I've seen literally heroes, level 10 heroes, decimate whole armies. Are you treating heroes the same in your game, or are they slightly different?
I think it's about scope. I mean, yes, Heroes is Warcraft 3, but at the same time, I would actually prefer to think of it as a love letter to, you know, Age of Mythology, Warcraft 3, all that era that when I was 15 years old, I spent way too many hours playing. Let's put it like this. You are playing a Wraith, or basically you're playing AoE spellcaster. So you have you have 6 units to build in this RTS. You basically are going to choose the ones who serve you better with your partner. Your partner may have a tank, and that tank is going to have some guards, it's going to have some knights. Basically, it's going to be the point. You want to have those range. You want to have the ones who stay in the back point with you, or it depends basically on your strategy. The units that we give you is to give you the accessibility to, with your hero, make a strategy. So it's not like, yeah, the hero is based off everything. It's more that the whole faction is going to build up how you're going to play.
It sounds like you've designed this game with co-op in mind first and foremost.
Yes, well, that's basically some of the designers are very proud of. They really want people to share the experience. Even so, when at the end of October, that's basically when we're stipulating to make an early access. We're going to have 6 hours of campaign, and we actually want this campaign to be co-op. We want people to experience this with each other. We want people to even experience with people somebody they don't know, or just their best friends. It's been a while, you know, since you can play an RTS with someone else. Even more so because RTSs are so inaccessible for so many people. That's why important for us was to make it shareable and make it simple.
So talk about, do you have different factions in the game, and talk about that and how they're different from one another?
Sure, of course. We have House Rupa. House Rupa is the son of basically the king of another continent. He's the number 13 in submission, how you say, in succession. And of course, it's a house of, you know, humans, dwarves, elves, genies, all like, let's say, very like Lord of the Rings fellowship. Then you have the undead, which is basically a race that it's not just one type of thing. It's just like everything that comes that's dead, from dead roots, dead nature, to skeletons that are put together. And of course then is the outcasts, which are gnolls and serpents, people that are not accepted anywhere, and they were forced to band together.
So you have three factions. Does each faction gather resources differently?
They have tiny little differences, like how you construct and how you gather stuff, but that's also stuff for the players to find out. At the same time, in our campaign, you're going to find everything about it. It's basically, a tiny tutorial with a heavy history. I mean, Daedalic has a very heavy history on point-and-click adventure, so a narrative is a very big thing for us. That's why you also want our story to be also be heavy narrative, heavy cinematic. How we gather minerals, it's principally more or less the same. So once they're gonna builders that are basically like in Warcraft 3, that you can basically put them together to build something faster, or ones that basically are just, instead of building something, they're just summoning, or basically just like training. That's basically, there's tiny differences like that.
And you guys said you don't have a ton of units to keep it kind of condensed. You said the human race has only 6 units in Heroes, right?
Yes. We're going to have basic melee unit, basic ranged unit, and magic unit. And it's going to work as rock, paper, scissors. And of course, the other 3 are a bit more specialized and also more dependent on what the faction is. But basically, that's the basics. You know that melee is strong against magic. Magic is strong against range, and range against melee. This again. And from there on, that's through this simplicity, you're basically building your strategies depending on the heroes you choose.
Do all factions units are they the same, or do they have different core units for each faction?
Well, right now, how the build is right now played in the back, like you're seeing, each faction have 3 types of hero. They have a tank, they have a DPS, and an AoE spellcaster. But, for example, the tank and the undead is very, very DPS-y, whilst the tank and the human force is more of a healer. So, of course, they have roles that are very specific, but they vary in their specificities, let's say.
So the factions only differ visually and in Heroes, but all the units are identical?
No, I mean, each faction has something that's special unto its own, like how some units react. That's why I said in the beginning, you have the 3, the melee, the range, and the magical. But then the other ones it's special on its own. Like, for example, you have and the undead, you have minotaurs, but these minotaurs are super melee, and they're also strong against magic, which in this kind of rock paper scissors system, basically it's just a bit broken. But that's basically the part. They cost a lot. You need to have a lot of resources. And on the other side, you have, like in Rupa, has genies. Genies are very well made for against ranged, and they're very long ranged. But it's all about the balance.
So they have different units. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No,
okay.
that's all right.
Okay. So one of the most challenging things about an RTS is having it accessible for players of all ages and creeds. For me, I always loved Warcraft, but I was terrible at it. How are you making the game more accessible for players like me?
Well, we hope that you play the game in the sense of, play the campaign. And the campaign is just going to be like a really elongated tutorial, but with, like I said before, heavy notes of narrative. So it's just like, we hope that you don't notice that you're being trained on how to play the game, so that when you're done with the campaign, you basically go directly to the multiplayer and you don't feel that you're basically thrown in cold water.
All RTS games have a high level of positioning back and forth, attacking, unattacking, when to go in, when to go out. Are you making this game just similar to that, or is it more right-click, everyone goes in and attacks?
Well,
you still have that. Sorry, let me rephrase the question.
Sure.
Okay. So in most RTSs, you're playing a lot of chicken, going back and forth, deciding when to engage, when not to engage. Are you sticking to that sort of meta formula, or is your formula different?
I would say partially. Let me put it like this. I actually believe that a lot of people that would do that would be actually very successful. But then again, I'm not like the most avid RTS player. Then again, yesterday there was a guy who said, hey, I was number 17 in Warcraft 3 worldwide. I see your game and it's very nice. I would like to play it. Would it be possible? And it's like, yeah, sure. I put him with a team, and it was like, okay, there's a guy who's like 20, and he has never played Warcraft 3. He's like only played StarCraft. This guy is gonna get demolished. I'm so sad for him, and I actually told him, it's like, hey, are you okay with this? Like, yeah, I just want to play the game. Awesome. The guy, the number 17, got his ass kicked because he was very structured. He was actually trying to play Warcraft 3 in our game, and our game is actually, like I said, very much shaved off, and you actually have to find out what works for you. I think that's actually what our designers are trying to do the whole time, is trying to give you, with different factions, also different approaches. Actually, that's I think the point of it. And then with the co-op aspect, if you don't have a really good teammates, you're also in trouble.
Can you I like to play co-op in Warcraft 3, but I like to play SimCity. Am I allowed to sit there and manage resources and build and let my partner control my units?
No, your partner cannot control your units. I think we have to respect each other's self-awareness, or like I want to have my own units, I want to have my own things, but like for example, the other day someone was asking me about the mines, if there's going to be a penalty about sharing. Is that the only penalty about sharing is that the mines have a very low quantity of minerals inside. You can share, but your mineral count is going to run down very fast.
And because you have only 6 units and 3 heroes for each faction, it makes the game easily more understandable. I mean, I think Warcraft had a lot of sub-units and hard counter units and specific units, and it became very overwhelming to where you could amass the best units and still lose because you didn't do the rock, paper, scissors game.
Sure. I mean, right now at the moment, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible with, like I said, 3 heroes for each faction. And the factions, like I said, is going to be House of Rupa, are going to be Outcast, and then the Undead. Of course, there are plans for expansion, but I think we also want to wait for the open beta, see what our players want to do. We want to hear them out, and actually, when people ask me why you haven't given a release date, it's like, hey, we also want to hear out what the people have said, take a notice, see how we can build it in.
So, my last question is, when is the release date?
Like I just said.
You don't have one yet? Early 2020?
No. Well, I think my boss would say at the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, we have to take feedback on, but then, we have until, December and stuff like that. Now, early access, I know that comes between end of October, like around that date. It's going to be the early access. That means
October. Okay.
Exactly. So we're going to have multiplayer, as you see in the background, and you're going to have the first 6 hours of the campaign. There's going to be co-op.
Awesome, man. And just for funsies, try to make it for console at all, or is this strictly a PC experience?
Well, we're a small developer.
Right.
We are 25 people, and we're trying to make our best to work this game out, and we've been in like full production mode like for a bit more than a year. If Blizzard wouldn't do it, and there's 7 years of production and put it in console and stuff like that, we want first to give something of quality. The question of consoles, maybe later, but first PC. So, yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not committing, but let's say...
It's a possibility.
There might be a possibility if there's success and stuff like that. Let me put it like this very frankly. With the open beta, we're going to have information from people of what they want to do. With the early access, we're going to gauge how much people are interested. And of course, the more interest, the more we can expand. And the more time we can develop this, the more stuff we can add upon. So think of it like a Kickstarter. The more money comes in, the more things we want to do for it. The more modes, the more heroes, the more, I don't know. I want to make skins. I'm a 2D3 artist. Come on, I want to make skins. We have a Spark Mage, so a Fire Mage. Of course, I want to make a version of her like full fire and stuff like that. But all in due time. Hopefully, people like the game. Hopefully, people engage, and join the team.
So if you guys want to support the game, it's called A Year of Rain. It's hitting Steam Early Access in late October, and release hopefully by the end of this year, fingers crossed.
Exactly. Thank you very much.